at this, huh? Hello, everyone. Doing stuff and things, making things happen, making things not happen. Finding out you may or may not have put your flight on the wrong day. These are all things that we are going to deal with today. Doing stuff, doing things, talking about why I chose Orks for LVO. And it's a progression of things, because you shouldn't be just randomly, what's up, Todd? You shouldn't be just randomly picking something unless it's the best thing for you. And I'm going to tell you guys how I went down the line and figured out why I wanted to take this. So let's go to, again, why Orks for the old man. One, I like Orks. So that's a big thing. Stuff in Vegas things. Let's go. I'd also like to start this thing with this stream with the fact that I just got a notification to check in for my flight tomorrow. And I think I'm leaving on Thursday. So I have an important call to make after I get off this stream. I know what you're thinking. I can't believe this is what he did. I can. So let's talk about the keys to LVO Mojo, or how Badrock got his groove back, which you'll see in just a moment. One of the biggest things about LVO is I'm trying to figure out what is the list that will give me the most happiness and the most chance to win. So I can try to win LVO and I can have a great time. And also something that's going to be the perfect fit for me. So we'll go down to the keys. I'm actually going to start at the bottom because it's the least fun, but it's a real thing for me. Because I have to play, if you want to win LVO, you got to play a potential 10 games. You have to go 6 games, shadow round, 3 games for the top 8. And the best is I take care of all of that stuff for us. I usually have other people. Usually there's a village to raise a Brad. That's my whole point. But there's one of the things about it is I have to play 10 games. I possibly can't 10 games, so I can't play certain armies. I'm old and feeble. I have all of the problems. I will put my giant stack of meds I have to take. But I can't play 250 models anymore. It's just not a real thing. I don't know if I can play super grindy games of super potential mishaps over 10 games and still win the tournament. And that's a big thing on that, because I want to make sure that I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do well. I'm going to be well over the entire weekend, because you're going to be there for 4, maybe 5 days if you plan it correctly. And it's a big thing on that. And I wanted to take something that I've been practice with, I'm comfortable with. I played a lot of games with Orks. I enjoy Orks quite a bit. And it also gives me that chance to continue on and win in the game. And I'm looking at player place terrain. I don't know how I feel about it with the Orks, but player place terrain is a big deal with the missions we're going to be playing. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but that's one of the things I looked at. The other thing, one of the things, Sean and Nathan and I talked about this a while back. Playing Orks is something that not a lot of people get a lot of reps into. So you're off meta. So like people as strong as things like CSM and Eldar are, everyone has played a billion games into them. So you really know exactly what you're looking to do counter-wise. Even if it's a difficult counter, you still know, you kind of have that muscle memory of, I've played into this is what I have to do. This is what I'm looking out for. Now, with the Orks, a lot of people just don't have that. They haven't played a lot of high-level games against Orks in tournament style. So a lot of times you just have, it's not like you're gotching, you're finding stuff, but they don't have that, I should be here, here's my proper spacing. So, Carmona, what's up, Carmona? I was very close to bringing CSM, but I wasn't confident in taking on people in mirror matches because a lot of people had more reps than me. I'm more practiced with and into uh, chaos with orcs and things of that nature. So I was excited to put something on that was going to make me happy and make me rock out. Let's talk about the list itself. So here is the list, or How Bad Rock Got His Groove Back, one of my favorite titles. Oh, it's huge on that. It's funny, Dominic, because one of the years at LVO, I couldn't figure out why so many people brought BA. And then Reese hates this so much, but the magic boxes they had boxes that you could go inside and had no windows. And I was like, oh, well, that's why. That's a real thing on this. So let's talk about the list itself. I took Mazrog, love him, the Great White Whale. He's also just a damage soak. 4-up invuln, 4-up Final Pain. A lot of times people will dedicate way too many shots into him. Maz has never been okay. He either totally gets wrecked because I can't make any of those 4-ups, or he lives forever and he's the hero of the clan. Never anything in between. So you can basically say the same thing about Drakari, but we're basically Yellow Snow. Love that. So 2 war bosses that are going to go into my 2 units of 10 knobs, and they're going to go into 2 of my trucks. War boss is going to give them +1 to hit and -1 to wound. All the knobs and the war boss have power claws, so it's one of the few access to AP2 that we have. Knob on Smash a Squig with the Head Wappa Kill Chop is going with a 6-man unit of Squighog Boys. I have 6-3-3 with my Squighog Boys, and I love that unit a ton. It's a nice distraction, but it also puts out some great damage. They have anti-vehicle, anti-monster 4. The knob on Smash a Squig has anti-vehicle, anti-monster 3 on the turn of the Wog. And with the Head Wappa Kill Choppa, he's doing dev wounds on any crit hit. So he gets crit hits on 3s against monsters and vehicles in the turn of the Wog. That guy can just like literally slam down 10 mortals super easy, especially if you pop 5-up explosions. Whew, it's nasty. Bad Ruck goes with the Flash Kits. Flash Kits go in a truck. Flash Kits going into the truck gives me a lot of options to be off board or start on board. A lot of times I like to have the Flash Kits off board because of the fact that they only have a 24-inch gun, and I want to position them in a great spot to get some shots. Truck gets blown up or I want to get out, and then I get those 4 rerolls. So, you calling me out round 1, Carmona? Nice. About 3 units of Gretchen and 2 units of Storm Boys. Now, these are all my scoring pieces and stuff like that. Now, I usually bring 3 Storm Boys and 2 Gretchen, but I changed it to 3 Gretchen because of the player place terrain and because of the fact that the way the terrain looks, we've got multiple boards that have big U's, and I can just jam those Gretchen in there and score some points, get some more rolls to get that extra CP, which is a big deal in Orks. Good strats. Thank you very much. So I felt that this gave me a very nice all-around list. I don't think this is the end-all be-all, but I really enjoyed playing it. So, and I think I have a lot of different options. So, as always, I pulled the side out for it. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me a ton to continue to make all this story, guys. So, now let's talk about the mission and terrain considerations. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this, actually, because this is one of the main reasons I did bring the Orks. Also, this is going to be a super short one today, guys. I just wanted to put out kind of a how and why I came to this decision, and hope it will help other people figure out what they want to take to tournaments. It's a big deal on that. So I want to start with one of the, hold on. That's true. Carl. I'm going to start with number 5, to be honest with you, because while I want to win the game, want to win the tournament, I want to go all the way, I want to play something that if I take a loss, I will still enjoy playing over the entirety of the weekend, because one person's going to go undefeated over whatever, we got 1,000 people or whatever it is. So I want to make sure that I had something that I enjoyed if I do take a loss. And I didn't want to take an army that didn't give me a lot of joy, because if you do lose a game, there's tons of great players there. and dice are dice. You know what I mean? Even if you play your best. So I want to make sure I brought something that I was going to enjoy the entire weekend. Yeah, back in dump truck. Nice. Uh, but now, one of the biggest things that I looked at when I chose Orks is out of the first 6 missions, which determine whether you're going to get into Shadowrun's top 8, are 2 priority targets and 1 Scorched Earth, which means that I have 2 different missions where I can just sit on 2 objectives. It doesn't matter what my opponent does. We can basically just stand there and have a staring match and go, I get a 10, you get a 10, which means that I need an army that has flexibility in secondary choices. So with 3 Grots, the 3 Grots, 3 trucks, 2 Storm Boys, I have a lot of ability to just be wherever the hell I want to be on the board. And that also gives me flexibility in whether I can take what I can take. So I can take prime fixed or tactical, and the army's built to take tactical, but there's going to be some of these missions where you get the first drop and you're just like, well, I can just take teleport homers and cleanse or whatever, and just sit there and do nothing the entire time. It's a big deal. I don't know why they didn't show up, to be honest with you. None of my I think Nick got a new house, so I understand that. But it's a big deal. And talking about the standoffs here, the Sanctuary and Chaos boards, those are the type of board, what they call their terrain boards, offer a lot of terrain. Say specifically the Sanctuary board has a U, a huge L, and a hut along with the crates that go along with it. You have a lot of ability to just shut down the board and just stand there. If you want to stand there, your opponent can still make ability to go to him. But on those 3 missions specifically, if I'm playing a really shooting army, I just won't do anything. And we'll try to just outscore my opponent. Because it doesn't matter if he picks my entire army up. If I score 98 points and he doesn't, I'll still win that game. And I'm totally okay with that. I don't need to kill everything. So it's a big deal on that, to make sure that you have at least the potential to win the game. And playing Orks, I felt, gave me the possibility for that. So I wanted to be flexible also because I kept, as I look at the missions, as I practice my deployment, as I look at what each mission is and what it means to me, I think that to myself that I'm probably going to take tactical 3 or 4 times and fix 2 or 3 times here in the first 6. You know, a little bit depending on what I'm playing, of course. If your opponent's playing a ton of vehicles, something that I can get a good, bring it down, then I might take a teleport homers or a cleanse with that and just try to get that easy 35 to 40 points. So that's a big deal on that, is when you look at what you're preparing for, what is going to give you one comfort? What are you comfortable with? Because a list could be better than another list. Because I actually think the CSM list is probably just straight more powerful than the Orks. But I didn't feel as confident playing it. And I also didn't feel comfortable playing it into other things. So I was really hemming and hawing about what I was going to take. And I was talking to Sean Rice about it, and he actually pushed me into Orks. He took CSM. I think he's just trying to make sure he has the better army. I see how it is, Sean. But I was really looking at it, and I can play the Orks very well, and I'm comfortable with the Orks. And it's another thing, again, it's an army that I'm going to have fun with no matter what. No matter if I go, 10-0, or I would say 1-5. I won't be happy if I went 1-5, let's be honest. But I will still have a good time while doing it. But I will have an enjoyable weekend. And I think that not enough people take that into consideration when they're going for a good tournament showing. Is you take what you're told is the best thing, and then you go to the tournament and then you lose a game because you get into a bad match, a great player, some bad dice, you made a mistake. Especially if you make a mistake because, again, you're not as comfortable with the army, you're not as practiced with the army, and then you're playing something that you don't enjoy, and now you can't win that tournament, and you could have taken the army that you love to play and probably got the exact same result. That's not always the case, but I just think that when you're playing with Tiny Toe Soldiers, you should be having a good time all the time. Now, when you run down the things that count as far as giving myself the best chance of winning the game or winning the tournament, I felt that giving myself joy with the Orks, giving myself a chance to score as much as humanly possible while being very comfortable with how the army plays is a big thing. I've been in some really sticky situations with the Orks and managed to pull out victories that I don't think I'd be able to pull out with other armies that I haven't had as many reps into. I don't know on that, Carmona. See, like, well, I'll go a little sideways here, guys. Necrons, even though I'm trying to talk about my Orc army, but I do think this is something that people have to look at. I think it was a big deal that we have a huge amount of Orcs, or sorry, amount of Krons. It's the most represented army at LVO, but they did give them a nerf, a week before list submission, and that is sucky, especially hobby-wise, for people that were getting ready, because all of a sudden you're saying you can't bring this anymore. And also, the practice reps that you put in you don't count as much. But the Necron list that I was looking at, because Necrons is one of the things that I considered for LVO, I didn't even bring the Immortal Bomb. So I think that that army is still wildly good. I think that I'm a big fan of Canoptic. I think the Hyperphase is still super good. But I think that army is crazy, especially in this tournament with player placed, because they can just sit, and that's a lot of OC. A lot of OC that they can put on objectives. Very, very durable, and almost the entire army can move through walls. It's huge. So, what army with what terrain setup do you not want to see? My guard versus world leaders on corners. Nobody wants to see world leaders on corners, to be honest, Madam Monday, Joe. It's tough. What I'm not looking forward to seeing is, say for instance, I play Carmono. Carmono's playing CSM, a very, very shooty heavy CSM. If I get one of the old boards, like the Orc board or the old championships board and stuff like that, I think that there's not enough terrain for me. I'll just get shot to shit. So that's a matchup I don't want. It's more board centric than anything, to be honest with you, because I think that I'll be fine because of the fact that I've got so much vehicle and mounted. I do prefer the Chaos and the Gothic boards because they let me set things at angles a little bit easier than the larger things on Sanctuary. So I think I can move through them a little bit easier. So that's what I'm looking forward to on that. World leaders I don't have any 4 deployers, but I do have 3 units. That's another reason why I took the 3 Gretchen, because I can layer my screens versus world leaders, and also I can kind of just fight through them. Fight on death is a hell of a drug. So I do think the Immortal Bomb list was the weaker version. I like the version without. We argued about this a lot. Crowley and I were having a go at this, where he just didn't believe me. But I just thought that the 18 Wraiths, Nightbringer, I was going to bring 12 Tomb Blades, 2 units of Flayed Ones, and a unit of Death Marks, and 3 units of individual Destroyers. Was going to be my list for Necrons. I wasn't even going to bring it. So I still think that they're fantastic. I get why people are annoyed when they change the rules right before list submission. So if you were planning on bringing, 20 Immortals for that bomb to slam all the dev wounds on people, yeah, you're a little annoyed. You've been practicing, and all of a sudden you have to change your list 1 week. I think it might even be less than a week before list submission. So people were kind of losing their shit about that, and rightfully so. While I still think that that version isn't needed, I still think it's kind of a sucky thing for those people, and that's a big thing on that. I still wish we were playing the Data Slate, which I hope comes out tomorrow. But that's a big thing on that. Now, going back, like the why and the thing for Orks, and I think that a lot of people have to look at this when you're looking at those big tournaments, is, again, you have to look at the synergy, the comfortableness. How good am I with this army? How good is it into the missions? You have to look at the missions, you have to look at the terrain, and you have to look at how big is my army? How does it fit? I like the Orks, for instance, because of the fact that I can fit them fairly easily on this FLG terrain. 100%. It's a risk you take by not waiting for FAQ before deciding on an army. 100%. To tell you the truth, that's one of the things that I thought about when I was putting together my version of the Necrons. Even though I thought that it was a little bit better, I was worried, and I told Sean this. Sean was originally going to play Necrons. He liked the Immortal Bomb. and I didn't as much, and it became a big deal on that for it. So he decided not to take it because of that. But I didn't want to make lists that are going to be invalidated with the FAQ coming out. And that's a big thing on that, guys. So you have to think to yourselves, what is the best for me? And the best for you isn't always just what is you're told is the top army, because again, you have to play it the entire weekend. Is it the best into these missions? Have you played these missions? Put your army on the board. I can't stress that enough. If you don't have a ton of time to play games and practice, one of the biggest things you can do though is deploy your army either at the house, the club, TTS. Just put your army on the board and look at how it fits, how big your ass is. Make sure that you know what you can do on the board. How are you achieving those secondaries? What can I choose? What am I going to choose for your secondaries? Am I going to go tactical? Am I going to do fixed? If you're doing tactical, make sure that you draw test decks. You know what I mean? Draw 10 cards and just go, hey, how would I score this? How would I score this? Because if you have an army and it can't score max points with no one playing against you, then you have to make some changes. So that's a big thing on that. How do I feel about the defender getting to place the first piece of terrain and then the attack getting to place two? It's nice because like before, it's still a huge deal to put the first piece of terrain out, especially at LVO and the FLG terrains, because multiple pieces of terrain can cover two objectives. The big U's in Sanctuary, and I think the ones on in either Gothic or Chaos, both of them, you can like slap them down and they can basically take two objectives. So it's a big deal that the defender gets the opportunity to do something. Now that's on their main boards. It's a bigger deal if you play like I really hope I don't play on the Orc board with the stronghold in the middle with the new rules where you have to roll a die and that's where it goes, because you can really get screwed on that, because if it pushes into your side of the board, it really fucks up where you can put your stuff, especially if you're playing something like a hammer and anvil. You're pretty just shit out of luck with that. So I do like it though, because before the person that was going first just got to dominate the middle of the board. It's huge on that, because if you won the roll before, you were putting down the first piece and the third piece, so your opponent only got to put something on one side, period. So you just basically got to say, this is how we're playing the game. So now it's way more balanced. So it's a big deal on that. So that's why Orks, everyone. I'm gonna fire it out to the wall for questions before I wrap it up today. I just wanted to do a little bit of a here's why Orks, and not even just why I chose Orks, but a little bit of a, hey, this is how you should go about considering what you should play in big tournaments, because you have to answer all these questions, and it's important that you know and look at their terrain for the event, and two, the missions that you're going to play. What my selection of Orks was heavily based on the fact of the first 6 missions we're playing. And yours should also. You have to figure out what you're playing, even in your existing list right now. There's a lot of times my list will change, almost always. My list will change slightly depending on what missions we're playing or what type of terrain we're playing on. And that has to always be a consideration. Now, obviously, a lot of people, it goes on, what you have painted and everything else. So that's a big deal also. But the 100%, Joe, depending on terrain and map, I found going placing second is better for my army if I can leave open 2 midpoints. It's huge, because your opponent just slams something down in the middle and then you just go, okay, cool, I'll just make 2 open lanes. Crate here, forest here. Will Orks be getting changed in the data slate? I hope not, to be honest with you. I really don't think that they need a change on the data slate. Also, the codex should be coming out now. I mean, I can't see that I can't see Orks getting any changes, really, to be honest with you, with their codex coming out so soon. I think that they're not going to touch them. They could, but why? You know what I mean? It's going to be overridden in weeks after the data slate comes out, so why bother? How do you use the flash kits? I end up pulling them for gas. Oh, I love the flash kits. They're fantastic. So I usually use the flash kits. I against most armies that have a decent amount of shooting. I keep them off board. I bring them in on turn 2, and I bring them in the truck, and I'll barely peek the truck out from somewhere. And so, like, the next turn when the truck gets killed, I'll just be behind something so that I can get multiple activations with those flash kits. Because when the turn I come out, I'm not looking for huge results, but I want them to be protected. And I also, because they only have a 24-inch gun, I don't want them to be killed on my side of the board where people could just outrange me the entire time. So I like to come out, zoom up, and get a great spot and try to really dominate that flank. What things do you need to do other than on the board? Don't eat Taco Bell before a game, for example. It's a big deal in this. I actually think this is huge. It's one of the things that I do all the time. I stay out, I socialize, I drink way too much wine. I do make sure that, for me, I have all my prescriptions with me. I make sure I'm super hydrated. I make sure that I've eaten real foods. I like to get up in the morning and I like to get a workout in. That's me. But like, one of the things that you have to do, because you're just standing there forever, get out and walk around, man. Especially Vegas. Go hit the strip. Just stretch your legs out. It's just, you're not gonna, if you feel shitty, you're gonna play shitty. That's kind of how I always feel. Get your head together. One of the other things about this is, I can't stress this enough, and I tell it to everybody that I coach. Staying off tilt is just such a big deal. There's gonna be that turn where you roll only ones, your opponent rolls only 6s, and it's just ridiculous. Or your opponent did a gotcha move and you're kind of like pissy about it. Walk away, get yourself a drink, go to the bath, do whatever. Take time. Don't make a shitty decision, because what happens is you can ruin your whole day. And I really believe this, because what happens is, if you stay tilted and you don't go away and get your shit back together, get your chi back together, all of a sudden you have that shitty game which you should have won, but you made a mistake, something happened, whatever. Go away, hang out. If you don't do that, all of a sudden you go into the next match. And even if you're not trying to, you're going to give off some negative mojo. So your opponent may pull back a little bit, and you have a not great game, and then maybe you lose another game because you're still pissed off about that first game and you're not playing well because you're still focused on that. You got to get your mojo together on that. It's so important. That's one of the biggest things. You see great players sometimes losing games because they're carrying all that negative weight with them, man. Like, let that shit go. I mean, everybody's going to be annoyed at first, but you got to take a second and go do anything, literally anything. What's the plan versus triple night spinner? In good news, the Squighogs they can't advance, but they ignore modifiers to movement. Also, they have to blow up the trucks themselves. Against the Eldar, I have to get pretty aggressive and take out the trash. You got to make them play you with 5 units. So if they've got the triple night spinners, Wraith Guardian, Karn, you basically kill everything that's not that and make them do that. So, yeah, exactly. Never have I heard Brad tell me to stay off tilt. Stay tilted, my friend. But it's a big deal in the triple night spinner list to know that you can get to that shit. You know what I mean? You have to play different versus every game. I'm going to play very back and forth against CSM. I'm going to try to stay out of their angles. Against Eldar, I'm going to YOLO swag a bit. I'm going to push behind things, of course, but you got to jam into them, because what they don't usually have is a huge volume of attacks. They just have great attacks and great rolls. I'll stop world leading my world leaders. But it's a big deal on that to make sure that you're in a great headspace and you have a battle plan. The other thing about that is, when you talk about things you need to do other than the board, I can't stress enough, have a plan to win the game, not kill shit. 80% of the games I watch in 40K are just people murdering shit and not playing the mission. They're not playing the actual game. They're not playing to win points. How do I deal with Guard? It's another army that you have to get all up on top of. Guard, you just jam them in the corner. There's a lot of armies that, especially when I'm playing the Orks, I don't want to give anything away for free, but you can't be attached to any one unit. Because, like, if I push an Elder army, a Guard army, and I jam it in the corner, and I get more points than them, and they table the shit out of me, they don't get a sticker for killing all my models. They just turn in whoever got more points. So it's a big deal. So, how about both? I don't know which one. So, on that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Delta and try to fly on Thursday, which is when I originally wanted to fly, and see if they have a thing. Or I'm going to start packing right now and figure out where I'm staying tomorrow, since I don't have anywhere to stay in Vegas if I go on at least Wednesday. So that's how I like to read things. They don't come back at this in the front. So basically, if the infiltrating scout units they come back, but they come back and they have to come off board. So you're gonna have to hit them. They're gonna hold you up for a turn, and then they're gonna push something else, and you basically just have to kind of weather through that. Now you should have enough terrain to utilize only getting hit with their indirect and stuff, and pummeling their infiltrators and their scouts, hopefully on your terms. You have to plan where you're going to be after charges and stuff. So it's important to angle where you're going to be and your pylons and everything else. So sometimes you're going to try to, especially with the big models, I love things like Squigog Boys because I can make myself not able to fit another model in, so I can just be somewhere else. Well, I hope to not fly tomorrow. Now I'm leaving tomorrow now. I mean, I might be. Who knows? I mean, right as of right now, I am. Thank you, sir. Log for the war chief. So I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play the Orks. I feel that they're a good choice for me. And I think that when you're looking to see what you're taking, you really got to figure out all of these things I was talking about, man. You have to look at, is it practice? Are you comfortable with it? Is it something that you can score with? Is it something that you can play when shit goes badly with it? It's a big deal on that, to make sure that you know that, because there's going to be games. Dice are dice. If you're looking at your nice bell curve, at some point in time, they're going to roll shit. Sometimes they're going to roll hot. You got to be able to weather that couple turns when you rolled shit. If you get into a bad position, is that an army that you're able to dig out of a bad position? Oh, I'm driving from Boise. Well, I'm flying from Detroit. So, 12 squigs. Well, it's 12 squigs and three trucks, my friend. That's all of the juice. But the thing is I'm not trying to move block on it. I feel that because of the terrain, because of the missions with the terrain, that I'm going to spend a lot of time just sitting on my objectives. Oh, I hope I don't get last year, KR. Jesus Christ, I still feel like that was a reality show and they were trying to ruin me. So, on that note, everyone, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I just want to go over kind of again, this is why I took what I took, but also I hope that this helps other people decide what they want to take to the big. We've got a ton of big tournaments. We've got a ton of team tournaments coming up this year, and I'm very excited about all of them. So I look forward to seeing everybody at them. And until then, as always, stay milky.